All right, y'all, what is going on? This is your man L Jamal coming through with another edition of Never Out of Bounds. Of course, this is a place where you can say what you want as long as you got them facts. Today, we are just going to be having a coronavirus update, more so on the lines of what's going to go down with the sports this year: football, basketball, baseball. What's going to go down, college sports as well. We're going to talk about it, how coronavirus is affecting it, and when you should expect to see these sports on TV. But let's get into it. We're going to start off with the MLB, and the MLB is actually set to begin. This is going to be the earliest league set to take place. They're going to start playing in next week, July the 23rd. They just wrapped up spring training, and they'll be playing a 60-game season. That was kind of, elected by the players, kind of not officially agreed upon by all the players, but that's what the league is going for. That's what we have. The playoffs will be set to begin this September the 29th, with the World Series to be held, I think, early October, about October the 9th, something like that. As far as updates going on in terms of baseball right now, over 31 players have tested positive for coronavirus, including New York Yankees infielder DJ LeMahieu and also reliever Luis Cessa. LeMahieu is asymptomatic, which is, again, it's one of those things where it's very important that you do get tested in some cases, because, again, you may not show any symptoms, but you can definitely be positive for this virus. You can you can give it to other people. It is contagious. Again, what's right in terms of who's being tested and all that. What information do we want to base this off of? These are the rocky roads that we have to deal with, but people are getting this. This is a serious condition. Some people are dying from it. I wouldn't say this is large catastrophic numbers. I'm not going to say that, but I'm also not going to say that nobody's dying either, and it's fake. I can't say that either. But there's multiple players. Oh, actually, and back to the Yankees. As far as Luis Cessa, the reliever, goes, he was suffering minor symptoms. Multiple players on multiple teams seem to test positive as well. For the Atlanta Braves, and it's sort of like a pattern here. For the Atlanta Braves, first baseman Freddie Freeman recently tested positive. He was going through very serious health issues. He will not be able to play this year because of the effects on him. So again, we may be able to see, we might have our, issues about what we want to believe or what's real. I'm going to take the experiences of the actual people, and no matter where they're at in terms of their career, where they're at in life, I'm going to take the side of the people who's actually dealing with this, as opposed to the outside trying to tell me, oh, this is hoopla, this is bull. Well, ask Freddie Freeman how he feels. He's going to miss a year of playing baseball because of this illness. You also got reliever out of Atlanta, Will Smith, also right-handed pitcher Touki Toussaint, as well as infielder Pete Kozma. Minnesota is also the Twins, they also have multiple players testing positive, with third baseman Miguel Sano, catcher William Astudillo, and shortstop Nick Gordon, as well as pitcher Edward Collin. Now, of course, the number has changed. There's actually a couple more at this point. But again, as far as everything has been said, the season will still go on. Many players, including infielder Ian Desmond of the Colorado Rockies and pitcher David Price of the Los Angeles Dodgers, have decided to opt out. This is a quote coming straight from Ian Desmond, like I said, of the Colorado Rockies. He said, "Home is where I need to be." So he obviously senses some type of risk factor in playing this year, so he's opting to stay out. Again, you have players in multiple sports opting to take that route and not play, not just in the MLB, not just in baseball, but it's all over the place. And before I leave baseball per se, this effect will not only affect the major leagues, but this will have a very negative effect on the minor league baseball system as well. With the MLB already deciding to cut 42 teams out the mix, that will, basically you have, like I said, they're going to cut off 42 teams, and with the loss of revenue this season, teams are losing between 95 to 100% of their profits this year because of a lost season. We don't even know what teams, in terms of minor league baseball will be around for the MLB. This is a quote coming from David Losniak. He's the chief operating officer for the Altoona Curve, and they are an affiliate of the Pittsburgh Pirates. He went on to say, if anyone is telling you they're not concerned about their survival, they are lying. No one has an extra 2, 3, 4 million in their bank account. So again, not only are professional sports being affected by this, minor league sports, semi-pro sports may even be wiped off completely. So again, in the next couple coming years, we don't know about a minor league system for a lot of these players. There's not a lot of options for these players to go, and on top of that, with the economic situation being as strapped as it is, those opportunities for these players may not arise in a very long time, if ever again. But let's move on from baseball. Let's keep it going. We have a few more sports to talk about because that's not the only one that exists, of course. Let's talk about the NBA for a little bit. Now, the NBA is set to return July the 30th, so a few days, maybe almost a whole week after the MLB is supposed to take place. We already know about the bubble that is in place in Orlando right now. The teams have already arrived. They arrived earlier in the month between the 7th and the 9th. Training camp started on the 9th, and it will be ending the 21st, and then you'll be having some intra-squad scrimmages between the 22nd and the 29th. Of course, we know about the 22 teams that are going to be participating. They'll be playing. Oh, and one more fact about the MLB before I let you guys completely go from that. It'll be a regional type schedule, meaning all the teams on the West Coast will be playing West Coast teams. So the Giants will be playing the A's. The A's will play the Padres, Diamondbacks, etc., Dodgers, etc. You'll have the Dodgers playing, AL West teams like the Seattle Mariners, so on and so forth. East Coast teams will play the East Coast teams, and the teams in the Midwest will play each other. But back to the NBA, like I said, you'll have 22 teams playing, facing each other. They'll be playing in a round robin type situation to set up a top 8 for a playoff system. But let's go into some updates about what's going on there right now. We do have some updates coming from Sacramento and also Milwaukee. They both shut down their practice facilities right after the team left for Orlando. A member of Sacramento's staff tested positive. Both facilities will stay closed throughout both teams' duration in Orlando. The Denver Nuggets, Miami Heat, LA Clippers, and also Brooklyn Nets have also closed down their facilities as well. The NBA guidelines of health and safety dictate that any player who tests positive for coronavirus must quarantine themselves for 2 weeks, and they have to test negative twice in order to be let back into the league. Multiple players have tested positive in this league as well, including many players that have tested positive include Landry Shamet of the LA Clippers. You also got DeAndre Jordan as well, testing positive. He will not participate in what's going on in Orlando. Multiple players tested positive for the Miami Heat and also New Orleans Pelicans. Actually, for the Clippers, there's actually up to 4 players right now that will be sitting out due to coronavirus illnesses. Also, as far as players sitting out, choosing not to play, we got Victor Oladipo of the Indiana Pacers. We got Avery Bradley, of the Los Angeles Lakers. Also Trevor Ariza for the Blazers. Again, one of the primary concerns with the NBA right now is players still testing positive even within the bubble, which has already happened. So again, with all that being said, with all the concerns that the NBA says it has, Adam Silver says he claims he has, don't believe the hype because he is having his players play. And as far as the quarantine food, it is trash, and they're pimping these players. Because again, money talks and bullshit walks. You can sit there and say what you want about the virus itself and how it's real and valid to you. It obviously something is existing. Nobody is, the question is how serious is it? Maybe it's not as serious as other cases, but again, it's prevalent and it hasn't been solved yet, and people are being affected by it no matter what our personal opinions may be about it in terms of wearing masks, so on and so forth, the mandates to stay in our houses. We might not want to do all that, but that is the reality that we're living in. So let's move on finally to the NFL / some college football right now. As far as the NFL is concerned, Commissioner Roger Goodell has issued guidelines to all teams via a 1-page memo and also a 40-page protocol document. The commissioner and the players union are working to establish a proper screening system as well as on-site testing as well as better responses to potential outbreaks. Training camp is set to begin the 20th or actually the 23rd here as well. There will be no Hall of Fame game, and the preseason will be cut short by 2 weeks. Will be cut in half. However, the regular season will be the regular 17 weeks, of course, including the bye week. Now, 72 players have tested positive for coronavirus within the NFL. As far as I know, these are actually the highest numbers from all the major sports leagues right now. I believe you still have about 30 something within the MLB. You're probably looking about the same amount of number in the NBA as well, maybe less. However, it's far and ahead. The NFL is far and ahead the leading league right now in terms of cases. One such case is with offensive tackle. Is with the offensive tackle for the Los Angeles Rams. His name is Andrew Whitworth, veteran for the team for multiple years. Him and 6 other members of his family tested positive for coronavirus. He went on to say this: next thing you know, she had it, referring to the original member of his family to receive it, to test positive. And he goes on to say, a couple of days later, my wife and I had it. A couple of days after that, my kids had it. So we were about 7 for 7. And at that point, then unfortunately, we had just visited my wife's family, and we were traveling with them, and her mom and dad both got it. Now, this is coming from Andrew Whitworth, again, long-time offensive lineman in the NFL. We could sit there and try to say he's lying or he's not telling the truth to fit whatever narrative we want to push. Again, if Dr. Fauci and whoever Trump supports, Dr. Wise, wants to have a debate and convince us of wherever their platform is, by all means, I'm willing to listen to that. But I'm going to show you what's facts that I know what have come to me. So again, it is prevalent, it is there. It's not killing everyone, but it is killing some people outside of the sports world. Recently, Nick Cordero, a notable Broadway actor, recently got it. He was relatively young, about 32, 33 something years old, like that. Of course, we'll have people trying to debate the true cause of that, this, that, and the other, because again, it's about fitting certain narratives. I think this shit is real. Again, is it as serious as, the bubonic plague, the black plague? No, I don't think we're all dying from it like that, but people can, and it's important to at least be cognizant. It's not about being fearful. We don't have to be fearful. We don't necessarily have to, and maybe, some of the restrictions that we do have, even somewhat wearing masks may be restrictive to some people. But again, you gotta at least know what you're messing with out there. It is uncertain. I wouldn't want to catch it, and I'd be doing everything I could to prevent that by keeping my immune system up. Again, I stress that a lot. Instead of arguing about who's right and who's wrong, what we should do, what we shouldn't wear in public, whatever. If it's that much of a problem for you, maybe you should stay at home. Because again, people are catching it. People are being affected in different ways by it. Let's not act like it doesn't exist because, it fits our narrative, or we don't trust government. We got to get out of that. But again, before I let you guys go, just another update. Further along the lines of football, of course, college football is on the way. Especially within the Power 5 conferences, they have decided to play a strictly conference schedule, meaning teams in the ACC, meaning Duke, Florida State, Miami will all be playing each other all year. Whatever games with other non-conference teams, those have been canceled. Again, for teams in the Pac-12, including Oregon, who had a major game set in I believe week 2 against Ohio State, that has been canceled. They'll be playing Cal, Arizona State, UCLA, cutting down on travel, similar to what the MLB is doing in terms of geographical. But again, in college football, they'll just be playing each other within their respective conferences. Many of the teams have already had started, spring training, training camp. For one, you had the University of Virginia. They play within the ACC. They started in early July. Ohio State started around the same time, but they had issues as well with multiple players testing positive. They had to shut things down. Multiple players on LSU's football team, of course, the recent national champions, they begin to test positive, as well as Clemson. So I believe up to 30 players for Clemson had tested positive. Almost 10 or so players tested positive for LSU. So again, and these cases are sprouting up on different campuses. Again, we heard about Cal Berkeley. Again, I haven't heard too much about their actual football program being affected by it, but at the Berkeley campus, due to all the social activity and frat parties and so on and so forth, you've had a string of cases there, and I believe they're almost at 75 cases within that school. So it's likely that it may pass to a football player, it may pass to an athlete, student athlete, it may not. But again, that's probably how it started in campuses like LSU and Ohio State, where it eventually did affect the football team. And again, the mandate of playing conference teams. This goes throughout all fall/winter sports, including soccer, basketball, so on and so forth. So again, we're looking at a very interesting situation coming into sports. But again, as far as I know, everything should at least be played starting by the end of this month. We will be seeing some type of sports action. Again, and it's going to be different. We don't know about the protocols, including in terms of having fans. But again, as far as we know now, everything is set to go. All right, y'all, I'm going to call it a wrap for today. I will be back soon. There's a couple things I want to talk about on the social spectrum. Of course, we have Will Smith and Jada Pinkett. They had their little tryst and entanglement. We're going to talk about what all that means, well, at least in a young brother's opinion, who, as quiet as it may or may not be kept, is looking for marriage, who has dealt with women in relationships. So I'll give you guys my personal opinion about that. We're also going to talk about Mr. Nick Cannon and what has happened to him, and just some more of that background and more of that argument that I want to get to, or that discussion that I want to get to later on about Black Hebrews. That won't happen all tomorrow or all my next episode in which I'm discussing him, but more so what happened to him and what that all means for him, and is that right? Is that situation in which what happened to him is right? Whether or not I agree with his opinions, that is one thing, but did he need to lose his job? Let's talk about that. Let's talk about that type of stuff. So we'll get to that, and again, like I said, I do plan on getting, to somewhat on my own, research, and I'm working on it as time goes on. Some more of I will be having somewhat of a segment for you guys referring to Black Hebrew Israelites and that history and Black history in general. Because again, there's nothing wrong with touching back on that stuff and reviewing these things and learning something new. So if I learn something new, if something changes my mind, then I'll let you know. But of course, you'll know how I stand regardless. I also want to get into another review for you guys. I will be going probably over the worst movie I reviewed so far, and that goes between here on YouTube and on my regular podcast. I will be reviewing White Chicks, again, a movie I didn't like. And I'll tell you why. Again, it was something that I liked in the beginning, but older that I got trashed. We're gonna talk about why though, but this is all coming later on. Y'all be sure to check that out. I'll be reminding you, you know what it is. This is your man El Jamal. This is Never Out of Bounds. Please, I love the support. Please be sure to like and share this, comment if you like, anything. Look at it. Even if you just want to watch it, just go ahead and look at it. All good. But again, if anybody hasn't told you yet, peace out, one love. I love you guys, and I'll holler at y'all later.